We're back. Had my internet cut out on me yesterday. I couldn't get in to get the stuff. But today we're going to make some more Pico. Let's see. That's what we're doing.
That is a very broad question. But I see that gold on the spot market for both gold and silver, then coming to a critical point. With gold, what I'm seeing is a series of higher and higher lows at the top end have been kind of bouncing against it about 3 or 4 times. So I expect a breakout within the next reasonable period of time, short period of time. With silver, it's probably a little bit more exciting because we are now really coming to that 40 bucks, and the next bump is at that 50. And when it goes above that 50, what you'll see on the spot silver chart, especially if you zoom all the way out, is the conclusion of a double cup formation, which is a cup formation is a major accumulation pattern. A double cup is, I imagine that to be quite powerful. So, I think that could happen maybe by the end of this year or into the first quarter, but either way, on both the spot markets, I see that extremely strong. And I think that a lot of that has to do with the level of chaos, the level of inflation, the level of geopolitical issues, many issues that are swirling around right now, central bank independence, all sorts of stuff.
When it comes to silver, obviously a tremendously undervalued metal by all metrics, and a lot of people are talking about $50 silver as the number, which would get us back to nominal previous all-time highs. But if we look at 1980, $50 in 1980 is like $196 today. And even if we go back to 2000, a lot of people say 1980 didn't count. That was
Cooking with TallPaul.
an event that occurred. The Hunt Brothers
We're going to be making some Pico. I got some time. I'm going to do that now. Got cut off from the internet yesterday.
A more accurate one. Okay, but even in that sense, we're still looking at silver over $100. Do you think that triple-digit silver price is in the cards in the near term? What are your thoughts there?
Yes, I definitely do think that triple-digit price. Now, one thing that you mentioned about 80s with the Hunt brothers accumulating silver because they weren't.
Got the tomatoes. Gonna do the jalapenos
Texas.
and the red onions
The importance of that should not be just
and the cilantro
because what we were really dealing with
and
was
the
a
limes.
manipulation by our government.
Already washed everything up.
And everybody was warned.
So that's what we're doing.
You see that building the size of several football fields? Just behind incredible that Elon's competitors.
So that's what's going on. Cooking with TallPaul, making Pico.
On this project. The inside those walls, Elon recently flipped the switch on Project Colossus, which he called the most powerful supercomputer of any kind in the world. I believe this supercomputer will create the world's first superhuman-like AI and make a lot of people rich in the process. According to Fortune, this next-gen AI can advance civilization and change the course of human history. Forbes says it will eventually reshape everything.
Got sharpened the
The
knife.
futurist and Google's director of engineering, Rick Kurzweil, the man who's able to rise the internet.
All right, we're gonna cut up some
said this new AI
tomatoes here.
is a technological change
Roma
rapid and so
tomatoes.
profound, it represents a rupture in the fabric of human history. I believe this new AI will be born right here at that facility.
I
I
like
predict
to
it will
cut the
make
tops.
Elon the world's first trillionaire and mint more millionaires and billionaires than any other breakthrough in history. Now, unfortunately, most people will be left out of this coming boom because Elon's firm XAI is still a private company. Until recently, it was impossible to claim a stake in his firm. You had to be already rich or have a direct connection to Elon Musk, but not anymore. Today, show you how you can take a stake in this Project Colossus without having connections in Silicon Valley, without having to be an accredited investor, and without having to be rich. In fact, you can get started with just as little as $500. And it's as easy as buying.
I have to say, Jesse, I have often wondered on these things that happened, and they seem outrageous to me, like taking the gold away from the population, like taking
Yeah.
the silver away from the population.
Gonna make the
Like
Pico.
a sitting president admitting that they're going to manipulate the markets. And I used to wonder how they could get away with that, why people didn't rise up and say, no, you can't do that, that's crazy. Well, I think they're living through that right now. And I'm seeing it happen. I think there's a lot of blindness that's going on. So I do actually consider the $50 mark nominal to your point. To
Anybody on? Looks like one person's watching. Chime in. Cooking with TallPaul.
And so if anybody
Going
really
live.
expects there to be any level of good price discovery with spot gold or spot silver, and I always make sure I say spot, because that is just a contract. And when you're talking about silver, there's a chart from the LBMA that they came up, and of course we know that there was a huge rush of physical coming into America at the beginning of this year. And you can see the stores in the LBMA dropping in gold, dropping and then rising again, and coming back pretty close to the levels that they had before whatever came out of the LBMA. I'm actually more interested in what came out of the BOE. But let's just stay with the LBMA for a minute. Because the same kind of issue with the physical metal being shipped over, happened with silver as well, but their stores are
What's going on?
significantly
What are you
lower
doing?
than they were before that physical push
I'm working it.
into the US. So what does that
Making the
tell you?
Pico.
It tells you that silver gets used up in industry, and just like the SLV silver ETF that is supposed to be a basket of silver, they couldn't put the basket together. So back then, I don't remember whether it was 21 or 20, but they changed the prospectus. SLV changed its prospectus so that they didn't actually have to pull a basket of silver in, but rather all
All
they
right.
had to do was
We're
just
doing it.
anyway,
Making
just
Pico.
imitate
Pico,
the
slicing up
silver.
tomatoes,
That's
Roma
all. When
tomatoes,
you're talking about silver,
99 cents a pound.
Well, one of the knocks on silver versus gold has always been that central banks are not buying silver. We've seen an interesting development. It's not as
Just
exciting
dicing
as
them
probably
up.
making it out to be because it involves
Throw 'em in the bowl.
SLV like you've just been mentioning, but the Saudi central bank.
How's everybody doing today? Labor Day. Monday, Labor Day.
Shares of the SLV ETF. Fascinating development. I'm wondering what your thoughts
Cooking
are,
up,
and if this could potentially be a trend.
you were doing
moving
crab
forward.
cakes and
More
shrimp
central
tonight.
banks, look to get exposure to physical silver.
I think we could see that because silver
But I'm
is
making
the
Pico for the
secondary
week.
monetary metal.
I like
But it is
Mexican
rather,
Pico.
I'm pretty sure that Saudi Arabia would be considered an administrator, which means that they would, you and I can't do it, but they would have the ability to take possession of the underlying silver. So I think that that is a manipulation.
Slice
to
it
make
up
that
thin.
happen, because that can happen even more invisibly.
And then cut it
than
the
what
other
we're
way.
talking
That's
about.
the way I do it.
And since silver
Diced.
is used across every single sector of the global economy, in solar, in medicine, etc. And gold is as well, both of them are, but silver more so straddles that world.
How you
I
doing?
think that this could also be.
You could ask me questions or whatever. I'll talk back to you. I got internet today. Yesterday it cut me off.
I mean, the normal holders of SLV, but JP Morgan would, and Saudi Arabia would. So I think it's a backdoor way to do it and have control of it. But the real problem is, we have to be done strategically. Like, I would have to, I'd be curious to see how much of a percentage of the holdings that they
Need a sharp
have
knife.
in
I got a
silver
sharp knife.
that would actually represent. Because if they did take out the physical at the same time that SLP itself, that trust, is selling off.
Pico again. Come on,
silver
chime in.
daily
I'll
basis,
answer your
paying
questions.
the rest of the fees, the repercussions
I hope it's
to the
working.
public,
It's
would be huge, those that think that they actually.
Monday.
With
Oop.
an SLP, they don't, they just don't share same.
I like to take the stem part
I
out.
think that's some really significant
Just pick it off the vine.
the risk transfer to the public.
And now a quick break to hear from our sponsor, Art Silver Gold. Oswego owner Ian Everard is considered one of the most honest and level-headed gold and silver dealers in the United States, praised even by his competitors. So give him a call today to take advantage of the special. Right now, silver kangaroo 2023 1-ounce coins, mint fresh, only $2.47 over spot. Mint fresh silver maple leaves 2025 coins, 1 ounce, $2.87 over spot. Well supplied last. Reach out today at 307-264-9441 or by email at ian@artfgo.com. And make sure to tell him
Making Pico. Cooking with TallPaul. How y'all doing?
Yeah, great point. Silver also recently added to the strategic minerals list by the Department of the Interior in the United States. Recently added, platinum also added as well. I wonder what your thoughts are there, if you think that's going to impact the silver market in a meaningful way.
You're going to get 21 free gifts worth over $1,800. Like our Go Fridge, a solar-compatible portable fridge and deep freezer. It may look like you're on a little cooler, but this powerhouse keeps food, fruit, medicine, and more cold and never stays ice. Plus,
That one's not real good.
direct-to-heat emergency space heater and stove.
Getting crappy tomatoes from Mexico. That's where we get most of our produce comes up from Mexico.
So you and your loved ones can have all the gear you need to get out of Dodge at a moment's notice. I don't have time to list out all of your free goodies, but there's one more thing you should know about. With your new Gold Reserve Survival Package, you'll get a personal invitation to a live, online, or air display with a survival expert. Tickets like this can go for $150 a pop. But we'll reserve your seat for free when you claim the Gold Reserve package on stage. And shipping, it's on us. It's not cheap shipping out all these survival items, plus all of your free gifts. But that's how much we believe in the survival package. And frankly, we want to do it for you.
All right.
So you need to take action now. This
Tomatoes
is a
done.
one-time Labor Day event and
Gonna
September
go on
3rd.
to jalapenos. Jalapenos.
Disappears forever.
We got jalapenos.
If you're ready to protect your family
Get a
with
couple of
power,
those.
food, water, and so much more, now is the time to act. See all the details on the new Gold Reserve.
You know, as long as
Didn't want to listen to
exist,
advertisement.
Right, so silver futures
We got
will
jalapenos.
as much silver as
Cut the
possible.
tops off.
But then again, remember, we're coming to.
They're on the bottom.
And I do
It's real
consider
tough there.
What happened in.
I keep the seeds in.
That $50 mark. I consider.
Just
that
split 'em
that's
down,
double cut.
turn 'em
Because
over,
each
slice
one
'em up.
reach that level. And so when it goes above that
Jalapenos.
50, you know, would
With the membrane and the seeds make it hot. Seeds make it hot. Membrane makes it hot.
No.
Gotta love it.
It's worth at a minimum $1,300
Gives
an
it that
ounce,
good
and that's
snap.
Based on the 20-to-1 that historically we were. These were both, well.
Same way with just dice them up.
These are both $1. Well, $1 gold coin and a silver dollar, so that's a
Small as you want.
ratio right there.
I
So,
do about 1/8 inch.
according to my
Some bigger.
calculations, you're looking at the true fundamental value of an ounce of gold at somewhere between $33,000 and $40,000 an ounce. So at 3,400, spot gold is a ridiculous bargain. But that also then means that silver's fundamental value at this moment is somewhere between 1,300 and 2,000. And remember, the more of this that they do, the higher those numbers go, because.
What's
this
up, people?
is
Anybody out there?
fiat money, government debt based money.
Nobody's talking.
The gold and silver are sound money. Sound money is money that governments in central banks
Making Pico
cannot inflate
again.
away. They can manipulate what
I
you
like
see
making
through
Pico.
the
I make this about a week every week.
but they cannot inflate
Lasts me
away.
about a week.
The point is they are gold money. They're just the
Cut the
opposite
top off,
sides
boom, throw that
of
away.
that
Jalapeno.
coin. And as this loses more and more and more of its purchasing power
Then I
value,
just-
these go up in
Like cut the little tip
terms.
off.
But what they really do is they create a bridge, because when one currency goes away, another one comes in. It's just that you need something, and I need something, we need something that will hold its purchasing power intact to get us from one system into the next system, and dare I say it, even have the ability to take advantage of the opportunities that will present as these extremely severely overvalued fiat money assets. And real estate is actually not pure fiat money, because it was.
Make it as chunky as you want.
But it's severely overvalued, that's gonna flip flop. So if you can hold your purchasing power intact, you're gonna be able to have that wealth transfer your way.
I want to talk about the issue of gold revaluation. This is something that's kind of re-entered the consciousness of stackers recently due to the fact that the Fed released a paper examining gold revaluation in other countries and its impact. This has led a lot of people to speculate.
What's going on, people? We talking live? I don't see anybody chiming in. Maybe it's not working right.
I've heard so many different opinions on this. Some people say it'll never happen. Some people say it has to happen. Some people are more in the middle. I wonder what your thoughts are. Is this a realistic proposition to revalue U.S. gold reserves? What would it actually accomplish for the U.S. government? And what could its wider implications be on the market?
Well, I personally do not see it, I see it as inevitable, because what gold really does is it regains confidence. I mean, they want us to think that gold is an old relic, except wedding rings are generally in gold. You know, good as gold, it's in our vernacular, it's in our DNA, and it's used to regain public confidence.
All right.
After that massive
Oh, I don't know if
failure,
I can,
which I believe we are like.
I don't know what the
this
deal
close
is.
to
Nobody can
experiencing
chime in.
And the hyperinflation.
Probably not working right.
Every single country has a gold revaluation account. They're not gonna do it at these levels because it does not reflect all the paper money that's been issued. So what I think we will see, and it's just a repetition of history, because this has happened over 4,800 times. I don't think this time is any different, and that's really what the point is. But they have to, you have to kind of back up to move forward. If they did it now at the artificial level that the spot markets are, then it wouldn't have as great an impact.
Making Pico, cooking with TallPaul.
Finish blowing up the currency in a bout of massive hyperinflation. And what they do then is, of course, they lop off zeros so people think, well, they've got this under control. So you've got a loaf of bread, and I know this sounds outrageous, but it's not outrageous. It is just a repetition of history, where a loaf of bread might go for, as it enters hyperinflation, a loaf of bread might go for $80, right? But then what happens?
I haven't touched a single dead rat since I started using this. Okay, I tried mousetraps, but I had dead rats stinking up my house. What a disgusting nightmare. But check this out. It's called bamboo spike bug indeed, and it actually keeps those rodents out of your home using plant power repellents. The blend of cornmeal, citronella, and linseed oil is an irritating overwhelming.
Well, nobody's here. Nobody's chatting. That's not good. If you're out there, you can chat with me. I don't know if it's working correctly, my live feed. Might not let you able to chat. I gotta get some stuff situated. Here we go.
1,000+ 5-star reviews online. Here are just a few of them.
Red onion, baby. Gotta love it.
It's probably an area where I always see mice and like places on Thank you for this one. Definitely recommend this part to my friends and it's no wonder that homeowners are switching to this family-friendly solution to protect their homes from the damage rodents and dogs. Everyone deserves a peaceful home, and Bamboo's delivers that for up to 30 days per calf. Satisfaction guaranteed. If living harmoniously is a priority, I can't recommend it enough. Click below to save up to 68% on the moose and protect your home. But you better hurry. Supply is limited, and this offer may not last.
Got safety protocols? Granger has the Safety Pros 2 product. Shop our vast inventory of safety products at Granger.com. Call, click, or just stop by. Granger, the ones who get it done.
They lop off 3 zeros or 4 zeros as they do that overnight revaluation. And so it goes from $80,000 a loaf to $8 a loaf. But so do your savings, and so do anything that you've accumulated in fiat. And frankly, so will the nominal price of gold. First, it'll go up massively, right, in the hyperinflation. But the difference between, say, your stocks and everything else, that drops dramatically immediately upon the revaluation. Whereas gold, it's on average, so I can't guarantee this, but on average will stay up at that level for about 9 months before it too gets revalued, but then it instantly begins to climb again in terms of that new currency. So that is what I anticipate seeing. I don't anticipate seeing it before we do hyperinflation, because there is not yet the need to regain that public confidence. But I
There we
watch
go.
that like a hawk, because that, my friend, is the only thing that's keeping all of this stuff together.
Well, speaking of trying to keep things together, the Genius Act, stable coins, these are two things that you mentioned before we hit record today that you've been watching very closely. Walk us through the basics of what the Genius Act is and why you think the U.S. government has introduced it.
Well, the Genius Act is the first legal foundation for cryptocurrency and stable coins in particular. I personally believe, there are many reasons why this administration made the choice to legalize that, and there's definitely stakes in the game. But it had to happen anyway, because we're moving into a new digital system. And what nobody really realizes yet, and I'm so glad I'm old because I've lived through this and I know how to recognize it. I've studied it since 1987. When President Trump signed the Genius Act, he changed the global monetary system. And I believe that, I'll put my technical neck on the line with this. I'm not even giving myself any wiggle room in here. Although, of course, I will say I could be wrong, but from the tip of my head to the bottom of my feet, every single area in between, I believe that this will now usher in the hyperinflation to burn off the debt that's being created. But make no mistake at all, when he signed that, the monetary system changed, period. Now, the fact that most people don't know about it yet is not relevant. But I was there in 1965, and I was about 11 years old at that point, so I didn't really understand what happened, but I remember that period of time. And I was there in 1971, when we went off the gold standard. And I remember, I was about 17 years old. So I definitely remember all of the everything around that currency regime shift. And there is not one doubt in my mind that we just experienced that a couple of weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago, whenever he did that, the beginning of this month. And that was about, look, this is the way I view President Trump. He is a change agent. This change had to happen because we have used up all of the purchasing power value in this stuff. And once you do that, there is no place to inflate away. You must attack principle. But since at the same time, what's been happening is a shift in the allegiances on a global basis. So the rest of the world has, as we know, they've been turning away from the U.S. Treasury market, which is the foundation of the global financial system. Well, when one market goes away, they gotta find a new one. And so by legalizing the Genius Act and requiring all of the stable coins, at least that are issued by this country, to be dollar-backed one-to-one, what he's done is created a new artificial market, just like Kissinger did back in the 80s, 70s and 80s with the petrodollar. So that's what he's attempting to do. And right now, according to a recent article, think about this, because it's crazy, right? But in a recent article by the St. Louis Federal Reserve, they talked about the impact of the stablecoins. And right now, there's about 125 billion stablecoins in this market. And most of them, it could be, I don't have this number in front of me, but somewhere between, I think it's even 99% of currently all stable coins that are issued are dollar-based. And they've been adopted majorly in third world countries, particularly in Africa, where their currencies are experiencing very, very high inflation. So what he's done is he's made sure that every new stable coin that's going to be issued by any corporations in the U.S., because that's who issues them. We don't want CBDCs here. Okay, well, I'm pretty sure we don't want stable coins either. But the CBDCs have a central location, and there would just be one per country. The stable coins are issued by any corporation. So we'll have Amazon stable coins, and Walmart stable coins, and Kmart stable coins, and JCPenney, as well as JP Morgan, as well as Hong Kong stable coins, yuan stable coins. So it is an extraordinarily fragmented market, but they are thinking that within the next 2.5 years, by 2028, they will go from about 125 billion stable coins to 2.
If you want to learn Python for a career in data science, IT, or engineering, then you need the complete Python Bootcamp course on Udemy. These videos and practice exercises help you learn the fundamentals and so much more. We create a career-ready portfolio with advanced techniques taught by top-rated instructor, Tina. And with anytime, anywhere learning, it fits your schedule.
$1 trillion in stable coins. And they are busy creating the legal framework of safe harbors and exemptions and all of these things. So if I take you back to 2008 and the great financial crisis, where what these bankers did was disgusting and vile and cruel and destroyed so many people's lives, nobody went to jail. And they didn't go to jail because legally they didn't do anything wrong. Ethically it was wrong, but legally it wasn't. And they're setting that same kind of system up now and encouraging all of this experimentation. And guess who's the guinea pigs? And guess who's just about the right size to fail? But that's also why I say that this is what's ushering in the hyperinflation. Because the easier and cheaper it is to create new money and spend new money, the more will be created, the more will be spent, and really, how do you even value any of these cryptocurrencies? I mean, if they do a physical representation, because that's all this is, these aren't Bitcoin or Ethereum or XRP, they are the physical representation, and I find it so interesting that they make them look like 9-ounce gold coins. Psychological
Yeah,
and disgusting.
very fascinating. Yeah, and you know, inflation is theft, and when theft is made legal, you are being ruled by criminals. That's the situation we're in. Governments are essentially criminal cartels that have legalized their own crimes, and the bankers and central banking system is a huge part of that. The fact that people have not woken up to that en masse is a little disheartening. A topic we're going to get into a little bit later, but first, I want to highlight something you recently posted on X. A possible shift in the composition of the Fed's portfolio of Treasury holdings could result in the central bank buying nearly $2 trillion of bills over the next 2 years, according to Bank of America. You then added the hashtag #TallPaul. Are we looking at Japanese-style yield curve control up ahead, where the Fed could end up being the main buyer of U.S. Treasuries to try and keep yields low?
100%. So, but now think about these numbers, right? If you've got $2 trillion coming in through stablecoin issuance, and the Fed doing an about face onto their balance sheet of $2 trillion, that pretty much covers all that new debt that comes out in that big beautiful bill, isn't it? Doesn't it? You know, I mean, it's just to keep the game going, and they can, as long as the public maintains confidence in the system. Because bank-to-bank confidence, that ended in 2008. Central bank confidence, and if you want me to go into any of these in more detail, but that ended in 2015. Market the central bank, remember that they would tell the banks what they're going to do, forward guidance. We're going to tell you what we're going to do so you can get into position. But that ended in 22. So there's only one layer of confidence that's left in the system, and that's the public still hoping beyond hope that this can regain some of its value. Utopia. That was not a good plan, and it doesn't really work either, because the cards are stacked against you.
I think that's the first time I ever saw you bring up the bag of hopium. I love it.
I actually got it from Tiger Stacker, so I have to give him credit, because he did it, and I'm like, I love that.
That's awesome. I want to talk about the cost of living crisis, because that doesn't appear to be going away anytime soon. The cost of basic necessities has gotten absurd. Just speaking about my own country, I live in Serbia, where things are about half the prices in Canada. It's not as good as it sounds, because for the people who live here, they're making such small amounts of salary that it's the same for them as it is around the world. But as a Canadian living here and making a Western income, it's insanely cheap. And whenever I go back home to return to Canada, I'm always stunned by why the population hasn't revolted when I step into the grocery store and see the prices. And this is happening all over the world. A huge portion of the population has zero emergency savings, literally living hand to mouth. Is this trend set to get better or worse in your view? Is the government using in the U.S., is the government using the continued rise of the stock market as their data point to kind of say, yeah, shut up, look how strong our economy is, despite how much the industry is suffering?
That is such a good point. Yeah, this is definitely due to get a whole lot worse. And generally speaking, historically, 80% of the population ends up in abject poverty as we go through this, and the middle class is absolutely wiped out. So that trend really started around 2000. So really, it's not like any of this is new. We're just now at a point where, I mean, you just see these buy now, pay later in mainstream all the time, because people cannot even afford food. So we were trained not to have gardens, right? To be dependent on the grocery store. And we got a warning in 2020 with COVID when you couldn't get your food from the grocery store. When those shelves went bare, and what did that reveal? The supply chain issues, but that has not been repaired. So I expect that to get much worse, and that's why I became a prepper, because biggest issue for people. But also on top of the huge food issue, which is getting worse, is also the water issue that's getting worse. And that too is a global issue. And so, when 2008 hit, just like I 100%
Pico,
knew that
degio.
was the end of the system as we knew it, and I became a prepper, I can tell you, that's how it feels to me with the stable coins. So there is absolutely zero doubt in my mind. And I developed my mantra from that based on what I knew that I needed. So that is to create surety in food, water, energy, security, barterability, wealth preservation. Community is arguably the single most important part of that, as well as shelter, because these are all of the things that we need to lead a reasonably stable life. And community has risen to the top because I started right after 2008, and I'm more prepared than probably anybody else I know, but I'm still not 100% prepared. I could deal with it if it happened tomorrow because of all the steps that I've taken, but we don't have that kind of time anymore. And so it is critically important that we come together in community. Go to your local farmers markets wherever you are. In Serbia, I think there's a lot more community, isn't there? Where people come together to help each other.
Hello, my name is Adam Ferrari, Chief Executive Officer of Phoenix Energy. I look forward to you joining us at our next investor webinar, where you can go deeper into our 9 to 13% annual interest rate bond increase and see how our company has become an emerging leader in the oil and gas industry. In 2024, Phoenix Energy rose to become the 11th most prolific oil and gas operator in the Williston Basin, one of America's top producing regions. We are now right alongside industry giants like ConocoPhillips and EOG, and plan to continue rising in the rankings. Our daily production rates have risen as high as 18,000 barrels of oil per day. We've sold more than 4 million barrels in just 6 months. We hope to see you at a brief webinar. In less than 1 hour, you will learn more about our 9 to 15% annual interest rate bond offering in the U.S. oil and gas market. With Regulation B 5060 bond offerings are open to accredited investors. Our team will guide you through details on the return. Sign up for the webinar and start your journey with Phoenix Energy today.
Yeah, so that's one of the things I love about this country. I think because of the hard times they've been through throughout their history, the Yugoslavian Communist Empire, the Balkan Wars, which were literally yesterday, that was like in the 90s, which is just yesterday in history. I find a helping hand everywhere I look in Serbia, and I don't even have to ask for it. So there's also, everybody here is Orthodox Christian, practicing Orthodox Christian, so they tend to look
Pico,
into their faith and follow their
degio.
faith. Serbia's a great place to be for community.
Well, unfortunately, that's not really what we have in the US. You can speak more to Canada from that, but.
I don't have it again for you.
Yeah, I
That's
didn't.
why I'm here, that's why I'm here and not there.
And that's why it's so important that we take the steps, because I will tell you this, and I've done this a long time, and I encourage everybody to do. When you're looking in the mirror in the morning, you gotta ask yourself, if not me, who? And if not now, when? Because if we don't take responsibility for ourselves and our fellow man, then the life that they have planned for us, which is a full surveillance economy, and we got a little snipper-snap of that from Canada in the trucker strike, right? Where boom, it was a perfectly legal and peaceful strike, and they shut down all of those accounts, and then anybody that even donated $5, probably even $1 to these truckers, they shut down those accounts too, and that was shocking happening in Canada, shocking. But it was, my mom used to have a saying, and I used it with my daughters too. When someone tells you who they are, believe them. Because a lot of times we all know, well, we can make it better, or blah, blah, blah. No.
Okay, dear.
So,
Well, thank
the
you,
government.
honey.
I did my part.
Yes, you did.
All right.
Mexico is there too.
This thing ain't working or something.
That we thought was the most like ours, just showed the colors. And I think our government is showing the colors too. Believe them. It ain't, none of this is happening for yours and my benefit.